Here's a weird explanation of why there's no convincing evidence that there is a God.
We've all felt the problem of God's hiddenness and have at some time cried out, "Where are you, God?" But unlike theists, atheists think this is a reason to reject belief in God.
Even if it's not a reason to reject belief in a God, it is certainly a reason to neglect to believe in a God. If a God's existence is not evident, why would it not be appropriate for me to neglect to believe in one?
Since if God existed and desired a relationship with us, he would at least ensure that we were all convinced that he exists. Obviously, that's not the case, so he must not exist. So it's said.
Maybe the explanation is that he doesn't exist, but maybe the explanation is that he doesn't really desire a relationship with us. Or maybe he's not really as powerful as you make him out to be.
What can we say in response? Well, first, it's true that God hasn't immediately presented himself to our intellect to where nothing needs to be done on our part. But why is it necessary that God do this in order to be good? From the Christian theist's perspective, God has at least made it possible to know that he exists by providing sufficient evidence through nature and revelation.
Even if it's possible to believe that a God exists, to say that it is possible to know that he does seems to imply to me that it is possible to have a level of certainty about his existence that I'm not convinced we can really have.
For example, there are many philosophical arguments that give good reasons to believe that God exists, some even demonstrating his existence, the 5 ways of St. Thomas Aquinas being the most popular.
None of those really demonstrate that a God exists.
There's also good reason to believe that God has revealed himself through Jesus of Nazareth, that reason being Jesus' resurrection from the dead. As to why God doesn't immediately present himself to our intellect, I think the answer is found partially in the good of rational inquiry. Rational inquiry belongs to man's unique mode of knowledge. And since God relates to man in accord with his nature, it's befitting God's goodness to allow man to rationally inquire about his existence.
Rational inquiry is good because it helps us solve problems, but that doesn't make the problems it solves good. It wouldn't be good to go around creating problems for people just so they can use rational inquiry to solve them. If you do that, you're just pointlessly being a pain in the ass. This seems to be what you think your God is doing.
Of course, with this comes the possibility of error. But just because someone might not arrive at the right conclusion about God, it doesn't follow that person is automatically damned. God doesn't hold someone accountable for ignorance that he or she is not responsible for.
Does that mean you can be saved by Jesus even if you've never heard of Jesus?
I don't know if you've heard, but I do have a Patreon.